the official recording, if you like.
Oh,
So,
yes.
everyone, to this product council session. This is all about the localization workstream, and we wanted to have this session because the workstream has reached an important milestone. All of the motive documentation has now been translated into French, and what's more, a framework has been put in place so that multiple language sets of the documentation can coexist. So I've asked the workstream lead and the two major contributors, Elijah, Maxime, and Eddie, to lead this session to talk about what they've been doing, how they did it, and to learn about the next phase of this important workstream. And I would love to be able to deliver that in French, but my French is absolutely not good enough. So I will hand over to the team and looking forward to hearing more about it. So Elijah, over to you.
Thank you very much, Paul. Thank you everyone for joining. Um, I'm Elijah Okello. I want to just introduce what we've been doing over the past, I think, past course of 3 months. So before I get into that, I'd like uh, Maxime to just introduce himself. If Eddie is on the call as well, just introduce himself before I get into the presentation about localization.
So yeah, I'm Maxime Nzoruba. I'm part of the Jenga core team, and yes, not much more to say. So I'm working mainly in payment I've been working on payment for the past 7 years, and I've been introduced to Mojaloop community last year. And since then, yeah, I wanted to be involved, and the localization workstream was the best way to be introduced to the Mojaloop way of working, as I'm French speaking. So yeah, that's a bit of my presentation. I
Yeah, thank
pass.
you so much. Yes, Maxime, you're saying something?
No, I wanted to pass you the mic back.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, so a bit of context about what we've been doing. Like Maxime has introduced, we are from Jenga Core. So in the last convening, we had discussions with Maxime as well as Eddie, and I think during one of the convening uh, I think meetups, one of the sessions, someone raised an issue regarding documentation for French-speaking countries. And at the time, myself and Maxime were kind of working out a collaboration with Eddie as well. So we decided that maybe let's reach out formally to Paul Makin, and we did that. I think weeks after the convening, probably in the first week or something like that. And we offered, to lead this effort and work on the translation. So through that initiative, and through Paul, we had the localization workstream created. And of course, the goal of this workstream is to bridge the language gap to make sure that we have adoption of the Mojaloop software solution, not only in the software itself, but also the actual documentation that people use to understand the software and deploy it as well. So this presentation is essentially giving community a report about what we've been working on, our progress, some of the things that we're looking to work on, the objectives for this PI, and what we will need help with, and any ways we can collaborate with the community. So without further ado, I will get started. Yes. So the work stream, like I said, is the Mojaloop localization work stream, and we have our goal, which is to make sure that Mojaloop documentation is accessible to non-English speaking adopters and engineering teams with a priority on Francophone Africa. Now, of course, at the time when we discussed during the Mojaloop community meeting, the immediate need was Francophone speaking nations, and so that's why we started, with we started with French. but not but more than that, more than the static translation. So I'm gonna share what we did, but more than that, we also wanted to make sure that we can implement a sustainable framework for adding other languages like Kiswahili, especially the languages that are spoken, in Africa. There's, I think, Portuguese, there's Kiswahili, there is I think there's a couple of other languages I think that are spoken in other parts of the continent, but specifically for our case, we decided to start with French. So we had a meeting, I think, we had a meeting to launch the work stream, and with Paul's support, we came up with a few objectives, right? And these objectives were what our work stream was going to be doing, not only during this program increment, but also in the future. So for this PI, we decided to focus on static product documentation translation. So the documentation that you find at docs.mojaloop.io is what was our main focus at this time. And we set out to do that. But of course, we mapped out a few other things that would need to be prioritized in order to make sure that the localization and translation effort is complete. So we noted the fact that we have some Mojaloop customer user interfaces. I think the most notable one is the business operations framework. And there was discussion we had about that, but the bottom line is all these, even the error messages, needed to be in a way that can allow anyone who is looking at the software and the documentation to understand it, regardless of the language that they're using. So that being said, we also discovered something that we needed to make sure that we support, which is in case there's addition of documentation in a specific language, how do we make sure that that documentation is reconciled with the source material, which is the English version of the documentation? And Maxime has we've been working together, Maxime and Eddie, to come up with such a framework. We do have a proposition of a framework that we think can work for us, to make sure that the developer experience around reconciling the changes in any languages with the source material is made consistent. That is something we had also sought to start working on in this PI. The software localization is something we haven't touched completely because we needed to just get the product documentation translation out of the way for French. So I just proceed. There's a section for questions and answers, which we'll go to. So this is the report that we have currently. Like I mentioned, the static product translation is at 96%. The justification for the 4% that is left is, and I'm going to give a little bit of insight into why that progress is at that. But for the software localization, as you can see, it is not at there's no progress there because we haven't even touched any software, and it wasn't a priority for this program increment. The support for reconciling source material and any new changes that come in a language, that is something that we've been working on, but we have not made significant progress because we need some ideas from the community or anyone who has dealt with this, something that's sustainable for us to be able to implement and support this documentation, reconciliation. For the static product documentation, this was our workflow. So we did static translation of the English-based documentation. Of course, we identified whatever we needed to translate. And then we did translation. We mostly used, we used tools. We used some AI tools, but also some grammar tools to be able to translate into French. And then we had a team of reviewers who were native French speakers, Maxime inclusive, Julie, as well as some contributors from Benin, who actually read through the documentation and gave their feedback, which we implemented. And then we raised the pull request onto the main branch where the documentation is currently hosted. That was the workflow. So we did the static translation, there was a review, and then we implemented review, and then we are ready to put it into the main branch as well. So the other thing that which we want to work on, it's going to be beyond this PI, which is the in probably the next PI after what we have done in this session, is the software localization, which is on top of being able to translate the technical and product documentation, which of course the deployment utilities, that the deployment tutorials and anything that is required to be able to deploy the software, all that has been translated. Whatever is available from the foundation has been translated. The software is something else that we need to translate to make sure that whoever is going through it can consistently go through the process without having to have any hurdles, and be able to interact with it as natively as possible. Yeah, so that is our progress report. We had a couple of contributors who contributed to this effort. It was a mixed team. Some are Mojaloop staff members, voluntary contributors, and some new people in the community. There was Maxime, who is on this call at this time, Eddie as well, myself, Julie helped us a lot with the review of the translated French components. Rebecca, Prince, and Chancel, as well as Sam. All of this gave us very valuable input during the meetings that we had, and we're very grateful for that. We think there is a lot of value that came out of our engagement, as well as all the things that we managed to achieve during the course of our work in this PI. Yeah, so what the next steps are for this work stream? Well, of course, we want to get the outstanding PR merged, and I know Paul is helping us with that. He's been very helpful. Thank you so much, Paul. We want to, of course, complete the developer experience work and source material reconciliation. That is something that we need to have some feedback on. We are also wanting to implement localization support for Mojaloop, user interfaces, especially for the software component, the business operations framework. We want to do some work in supporting new languages. We of course made sure that we have the structure in place for localization, but 100% we want to be able to also supporting the work for translating new languages, like any language that is important to the foundation, especially that is affecting adoption. I think that is something that we can prioritize. Our work of course came out of a requirement for an adopter to have a French version of the documentation in place for them to be able to support. The other, I think that's probably it. I think I'll just pause for questions and any discussions. I think any feedback is welcome at this time.
Okay. Thank you, Elijah. I don't suppose you have a view of the draft French website, do you? Perhaps you could just show us it.
Yes, I do. Let me share my screen. I was going to do that, but let me share that right now.
Yeah. And perhaps show how you switch between languages.
Yes. So I'm going to put the link to our hosted documentation in the meeting chat. This is what we hosted on our infrastructure to just have a place where to demo, to see what we're doing. So I'm putting it in the meeting chat, and I'm going to share my screen just now. Okay, confirm you can see my screen.
Yeah.
So if you load that link, thank you, Paul. If you load that link, you'll see that it takes you to the FR site. So it will show you French. But if you load the link at the root of the URL, you can change to the new language, the language that you want. Because we only have French and English, so you click on français, and then it will show you the French documentation in place. And of course, if you navigate through, you'll see that it's already translated. And this is what is live on our pull request. You can just read through and be able to just go through the documentation. A problem that we met, and I think this is important for us to flag, is that some of the images were a problem for us to translate. The workaround that we identified for this is to basically identify the images that need translation, and then as community members can pick up, we have them translate them in on their own, and then we put them into the documentation. That was a workflow, but this is the side that we are having on our staging environment, and thank you Paul for bringing it up. Yeah. Are there questions?
Well, just to comment on the diagrams, it would be great if you could identify somebody to do that work and just assign them the task in GitHub, and then it will get done in due course. So
yes, 100%.
But yes, it's great. I'm expecting to approve the PR this afternoon, at which point it will go live probably overnight. So
all right. Oh, brilliant. Really appreciate that, Paul.
Good. Does anyone have any questions?
I wanted to make a small remark only.
Please.
Just note that for the plant UML, we managed to do the translation for the plant UML generated images. So it's only the full static images, or in PNG format or JPEG, which needs added work. But for the rest, it has also been translated.
I think that's a very good point, Maxime. Thank you. And thank you all for your efforts. Does anyone else have anything they want to say?
I think it's a really,
yes, I
really
see.
good
I see. Yeah. Yes, James.
I think it's really good progress. Very impressive. I love the ease with which the user can change their language. I think you've made great progress with automatically translating the plant UML diagrams. I think we do have the original SVG source for most of the PNG images that are in there as well. So I do have some ideas as to how we might do the translation for those as well in an automated way. Maybe I'll drop in on the next workstream call and we can talk about that if you like.
Yeah, be careful about automated translation. The team have found that automated will take you to a certain position, but then you actually have to get a natural French speaker to actually fix the problem.
Yeah. So the plant UML diagrams, they're built as part of the CI/CD, I think, if I remember rightly. So with the SVGs, if we were to change those so they get built from the source during the CI/CD process, then we would be able to have a French source and an English source, and build the diagrams automatically.
Yeah. Manzi, I see you have your hand up.
Yes, Olivia.
Oh, yes. It was just to commend the job well done and suggest we use the new color scheme of Mojaloop.
Okay.
Are those images embedded in your documentation, or you are getting them from where they are on the website? I know it's being also probably reviewed, rebranded, so it's better we use the current branding of Mojaloop.
Okay, that sounds
yes.
a new PR. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a task that's beyond just the translation, I think. Yeah.
Sure.
I think we need to raise that as an issue, most definitely. Yeah. Because we need it to be consistent, obviously, no matter what language you choose. But also, I wanted to make a couple of points as well, that we put version numbers on a lot of the product documentation. I don't think that's true of all of the documentation, but I said to the team that I wanted them to focus on keeping the same version number of the documentation, whether it's in French, English, or whatever, because the versioning is about content, not language. So, we need to make sure that we keep the versions in sync, as it were. And I think the team have done a good job of that. Bill, did you want to raise a question?
Sure. First of all, this looks wonderful. And secondly, when going on to the product documentation, I don't know if there is already a capability built into, is it being pseudo-localized?
How do you mean?
So one of the things we did when I worked at Microsoft doing localization, we would pseudo-localize, and rather than changing it into one of the 26 languages we supported, we'd change it into a fake language to verify that we hadn't broken the software by localizing. So every A became an at symbol, every T became a tau, that sort of thing. You're just replacing letters. And maybe adding additional letters because things like German are longer than English. But by doing that, you verify that you aren't changing something that is actually functional in the string table for the language. Some bright developer at one point put create table in the string table, and that broke things when we translated it. So it's a good idea to pseudo-localize, run through and verify the functionalities there, and then you have the ability to just, you know which strings are safe.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I don't think anyone would claim that this is a finished product. This is, I suppose you call it version 1 of the localization project. We know there's a lot more work to be done. So, Bill, if you were willing or able to contribute, your contributions would be most welcome.
Okay, thank you. That's about the extent of my knowledge, but but I can always explain it in more detail.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, well, come along to the localization workstream calls then.
Sure.
I think the next workstream call is going to be about planning for the next phase of this project. So
yes, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments from anyone? No. Okay, good. Well, I think that's everything then. Thank you to Elijah, Maxime, Eddie, and the rest of the localization workstream contributors. I think you've done an amazing job, much quicker than I expected. I thought we wouldn't be at this position for another 3 months. So I'm very, very grateful for your efforts in this regard. And we can leave it there. So thank you again. Thanks everyone for coming and listening. Thank you for your support. And I will publish the recording of this session as soon as I can. So thank you very much, everyone, and goodbye.
Cheers, everyone. Thank you, Paul. Bye.